This is Roll Coverage. I am your host, Nick. We're jumping right into it. Today, we're talking about the press conference. I haven't watched it yet. I've seen the vitriol online. I've seen Two Growls, One Roar. Shout out, great podcast. I've seen West Side. I've seen J-Rock. I've seen Panthers Culture. I've seen everybody comment about what he was saying. But obviously, nobody watched my last breakdown because I think we're going to kind of understand more of Frank and what's going on right now. So we're going to jump right over to it. I'm going to change the scene, and then we're going to start seeing stuff. But one of the things I want you guys to look out for, I'm not going to touch on it here, but I'm going to start throwing a few little of my tweets up. I'm not going to say anything about them. I'm just going to put them up. So if you're a video listener, please go check it out and just see how I've been calling this for literally weeks, if not months.
Hey, I thought it was all over.
We're at the presser now. Let's start it. Again, this is from today, the 15th of November, 2023. I haven't seen it yet. Let's see what happens.
Just to get started, because I know someone will ask in regard to play calling. I am going to resume the play calling duties. This is not about Thomas. This is about me. It's about the team.
Okay, he paused, so I'm going to pause. Right there, it's the thing that I said. I told everybody weeks ago what was going to happen. Frank was protecting him by doing the play calling the first few weeks. He put Thomas Brown into that position, and we had a 3-week massive offensive slump. So obviously Thomas Brown is not him with this roster. But again, I'm not going to destroy Thomas Brown. I am going to say there's a lot of people that said that he was going to be the solution to all of our problems. And again, I'm here for it. Play your tiny little violin, but I was right again. Thomas Brown is not going to change this. Promoting Evero is not going to change this. But what I just heard here is a head coach that cares. What I heard here is a head coach that cares about this team, that cares about how Thomas Brown is reacting to all of these things. And he's doing the head coach thing. Hey, it's me. It's my fault. It falls on me. Regardless of anything, I am the head coach. It all comes back to me. So a lot of people are going to be like, oh, it's me, blah, 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 blah. And he'll probably expand on his play calling for the Eagles, which he worked with Doug Peterson to do. He was not the official play caller. That was Doug Peterson. But to say he had no input is a bit disingenuous. This is what I want in head coach. I want him to be stoic. I want him to stand up there. I want him to take it on the chin. And I want him to just say, you know what? I'm going to improve. I really like everybody we have and everything like that. Because if he comes into this press conference, okay? He comes in this press conference and he goes, Thomas Brown sucked at play calling. Our defense is injured. And this personnel isn't in. He throws blame out. What does every one of you guys do? Oh, man, he's not accepting the responsibility. He needs to go. This isn't what we need for a coach. Blah, blah, blah. Yet, when he stands up there and is able to take it, is able to say, you know what, we need to improve, and I'm going to take play calling back. Because when I was play calling, we were averaging 18.5 yards per game. I'm pretty confident there was also more yards per game, but that's just, I'm not going to pull the stats up. I'm just responding to this. But overall, I don't hate this. Unless he was like, literally, it's all me, everybody else sucks, blah, blah, blah. Like, no, he's doing and saying the right thing as a head coach. And people that are going to light a fire under him for this don't really understand it, that you can't just go out there and just start throwing people under the bus. Because if he wanted to, he's got Thomas Brown to do that. So
I'm in the position I'm in because of years of offense, being a successful offensive coordinator.
Correct. I understand it's not working out on the field, but like I've said from the beginning, and like I'm starting to see, which again, if your tweet ends up below or to the side, wherever I post them, I want you guys to remember this. I told you guys it was personnel. Everyone kept rolling on the coach, kept rolling on everything like that. Listen, Scott Fitter built this terrible roster. He's the one that should fall. I do think that Frank will eventually take the fall, but I don't think that firing him mid-season solves any problems. In fact, it makes it worse. So
we have 8 games left, and I just want to give my attention and everything I can do and everything.
To be honest, in that moment, I'm not mad. He's basically telling you that he's taking control of it all because that's what he did the first few weeks, where we were actually number 1 in scoring in the NFC South on average, of course. So we were putting up points on the board. In these last 3 games, we haven't been able to do anything, and that's obviously play calling, the scheme, all that other stuff. Yes, it's a more vanilla offense, but to be honest, our team can't even handle that offense now. I actually went back and forth with somebody earlier when I was talking about ISM. I think he's great. but I called him a rookie. And I actually had to correct myself. He's not a rookie. I thought that 6 catches and 134 yards over his career. I was like, oh, man, he's got to be a rookie. But no, he's been in the league 3 years. And we're expecting him, the guy who's been given 6 catches, we're going to give him the opportunity to try and fix this. We're going to say, hey, man, we need ISM out there to solve all of our problems. I'm sorry, but I like the kid. I think he's great. That play was great. I'm super excited. But he hasn't proven himself to this point because he hasn't been given the opportunity. So I'd love to see them roll out the ISMs. Even TMJ at this point, roll anybody out there. I want to see something. I think we could obviously escape one of these games, but like this Cowboys game coming up, I love that he's doing this because it continues to fuel my point. I believe that Frank Reich has been protecting Thomas Brown, Evero, the front office, the owner, and everything by going into these press conferences and taking it on the chin. He's taking the 3 games that Thomas Brown was the quote-unquote play caller, and he's saying, you know what, man, it's not you, it's me. We need to fix it. I'm going to take it back so this way I get the blame. Whereas if he leaves Thomas Brown out there for 8 more games and we go 0-8 over that time, that means that Thomas Brown won 1 out of 9 games or whatever it is. So obviously there's a little bit with that. Obviously that's more than Frank's won. I understand a bunch of people are going to be like, oh, well, he didn't win anything. But he did. He's the head coach. He gets the credit for the win just as much as the offensive coordinator does. But again, Thomas Brown is not it. So all those people out there that were saying that, oh, man, just need to give it to him, or the one that I'm going to push back on everybody. Everyone's like, go make Evero the head coach. I'm going to go find as many Twitter posts that I can. Hopefully they're up on the screen whenever, but there was a bunch of people talking about, man, Frank is overwhelmed. He's this, that's why the play calling, X, Y, and Z, right? Those were the excuses. Because you guys said that he couldn't be a head coach and play call. But yet you want to make an interim coach be the interim head coach and play call. I understand the criticism, but this is this man going up there and protecting our team. That's what I want from a head coach. I understand he's going to take the fall, but when we bring in Bill O'Brien, which is the stupid report, Bill O'Brien is garbage. Okay? He's the retreaded offensive coordinator from how many teams? In fact, boom, I'm going to put it up. That's how many teams. This is a joke. Bill O'Brien coached Bryce Young when he was on an Alabama team with a better offensive line than the Panthers, with a better receiving core than the Panthers, with a better everything than the Panthers, besides quarterback because they're the same person. Like, miss me with that, oh, we need to go to Bill O'Brien and everything. So we're only 34 seconds into this, and this is already a 8-minute video. So I need to cut this down. Let's go back to it.
I can bring to bear to help the offense, take a next step. It'll still be collaborative. Thomas is still running the show as far as the offense and all the install meetings.
Exactly. If he's still running the offense, but he's taking play calling away, you know what that means? He's just telling the media that it's my fault if we lose this game to the Cowboys. That's what he's telling you. And everybody is going to roast him for that because they're not listening and looking at what this man is saying.
In game planning, he's still right at the center. He and I working together like we've been all year. So I trust Thomas more than anybody. And he's helped me become a better coach and a better man. So this isn't about that. This is about the team. This is about us all playing the role that we think can help us these last 8 games.
Exactly. And the reason why you're going to see him look down right now is because he understands I'm the head coach. It doesn't matter what happens. It's my fault regardless. Not one other person would sit up there and say that. We take this on the chin and for 10 plus weeks get destroyed by the fan base for something that literally isn't even his fault, which is the personnel. Again, built by Scott Fitterer. So let's just continue with this. See, look at that. That little just, man, like he really wants to say what he really wants to say, but he can't. He's the head coach. He has to make the right decision and be the head coach, not a, Twitter troll.
How difficult of a decision was this for you over the last few days?
I mean, it's a hard decision, but when you're the head coach, you always have to put the team first. You always have to, and what's best for the team.
What's best for the team. What's best for the team is the head coach to assume responsibility while still giving Thomas Brown the option to call plays. He may say he's the play caller, but he will not be the only person calling plays on the offensive side. I would prefer to say that Thomas Brown's going to call the majority of the plays against this Cowboys team, but that man's going to walk up on to the podium and accept blame if we lose. Now, obviously, it could be a Cardinals game where we come out beating the Cowboys, in which case, I'm in Colorado in another few days, and if it snows, I'm running through the snow in just my boxers, and I'll post the video online. Like, I really hope we win this game, but I'm also realistic, just like I was about this roster beforehand.
And so that's the guiding principle.
Frank, to flip-flop on this just 3 weeks after you gave it to Thomas, what does that say about, I guess, the direction of this program?
The direction of this program is that you finally have a head coach that's willing to accept blame, and you finally have somebody that's willing to protect people. So again, I'm going to give him a lot of pass on this. He could have been another head coach where he just throws his OC under the bus or anything like that, but instead he's doing the right thing. This is what we need in the room, a real adult, and not like some screaming Bobby Knight wannabe like everybody wants.
No, I understand, and I understand what's going to be said and how it may appear to some. Nothing I can do about that. As I've said from the beginning, the whole process is pretty collaborative anyway. And I guess the way I look at it,
And see, that's the point. He says it's collaborative, but there's no way to actually know. Is Frank calling 99% of the plays, or is it Thomas Brown? It's collaborative because he wants to then go, nope, it's not Thomas Brown, it's me. It's me. It's me, it's me, it's me. But it's not me, it's me from, I'm taking all the good. Give me all the garbage running downhill, or uphill in this case since he's the head coach. I'm going to take it all. Give me it all. I'll take all the blame, everything like that. Let Thomas grow. Let all this happen. That's what this man is doing.
In this league, it's a game of inches. It's a game of, small increments. If you can find ways to get 1% better here, 1% better there. And if, what if my experience, I just won't be able to live with myself if I didn't bring every ounce of that to bear on these last 8 games. That's how I feel.
And again, I think that what a lot of people have said, that he's on the hot seat. I don't think he's really on the hot seat. I think it's more just, hey, man, we need to improve. Tepper's like first year. I'll give you that. So again, I think he will make it through the offseason and most likely be our head coach starting week 1 next year. But he's on a very short leash starting week 1 next year. I would say that. But again, I don't know of anybody out there that's a quantifiable, or I'm sorry, not quantifiable, a proven talent over Frank. So because of that, I'm not going to put a ton of stock into a replacement. Now, don't get me wrong. With the most recent report from, I think it's Tom Curran, speaking of Bill Belichick, and that the trade or the idea that he's going to go to another team is basically all but done. So if they're going to fire coach and GM together, obviously the rumor's been Washington, but why couldn't it be Carolina? Why couldn't Bill Belichick come in here and be like, you know what, I'm going to be head coach, I'm going to be GM, we're going to bring it in OC, which at that point most likely would be Bill O'Brien, and then see what happens. I could be interested in that, Evero, him and that, but he'll probably bring in a different DC, so that would change that too. Evero's going to go someplace else and do work with a different defense. So I feel that when we go to burn this now, when this team goes to burn this down, we're going to burn the head coach for the problems of the GM. And again, I will continue to say, I believe that Frank Reich has deserved a firing, though I personally would not fire him. The fan base is what is getting me to side on the side of firing. So,
just want to, so that's where we're at.
Is any of this to do with, like, if, I'm not saying your job's in jeopardy, but if it is at the end of the year, you want to be the guy in charge of your future, your destiny?
No, listen, I've been given no.
Exactly. I don't think he's been told anything. I don't think it's anything too crazy. If they're going to fire him, I think it's going to blindside him personally. And a lot of people are going to say, oh, how could it blindside you with the record? But you were also given a bad bag of groceries to start the season. You've been injury plagued. We're not paying Burns. Like, it's just a giant cluster. And Colin Cowherd always brings up a great point, even though I'm not a big fan of his. I like most of his sports talk, but yeah, he's had some real bad takes on some things like esports and some other stuff that I won't get into today. But he says the number one thing that people have to worry about is a bad owner, and I couldn't agree with that more. Cincinnati previously was a terrible place. Everyone was like, oh, God, Burrow's screwed. The owner sucks. They're never going to do anything. But then they changed. I'm hoping that we can change. I'm hoping that we could do something moving forwards to improve this team. But we need to give it time. No franchise turns overnight unless they get an absolutely dynamic quarterback like a Joe Burrow. But he walked into a thing with a pretty decent wide receiver core, pretty decent running backs. Like, they were working it, so they were doing well. So I just think that this is something that not even head coach Bryce Young, Tom Brady couldn't overcome the owner, truly, I believe at this point. I don't think that even if with a, obviously a 46-year-old or something, Tom Brady would get destroyed behind our O-line, but I just don't think that anybody can truly show up here and just affect change, especially from a head coach or a coaching perspective, because they're not out on the field. It's personnel that needs to win these games, and if you don't have the personnel, you're never going to be able to compete. And when people will tell me, "Oh, man, you don't know ball," for saying that, no. If I was to give Nick Saban Middle Tennessee's roster and put it in the SEC, you think he's a 8-win team? No, he's not, because coaching doesn't solve that. The personnel has to be there as well. So,
Yeah, I don't know what. I've not been given any ultimatum like that.
Good.
Like you said, David. I mean, this is, and it's not. Yeah. Do we want to be in control of our own? Of course. This is about if I have something that I can give to the team, I feel like I need to give it, and give it. Thomas and I doing it together. And some of it's just the mechanics of it with me putting it on and putting the headset on and calling it. I'm very comfortable doing that. I know, obviously I was calling it earlier. We didn't have the success. So to the point that this isn't about Thomas like that. That's what I think is the right thing to do. That's more than anything. I just think it's the right thing to do.
Was there any
it's the right thing to do because he's going to take the blame. Protect Thomas Brown. He deserves it. You need more time. You need to get into next year. But again, if you're watching this video, you're not watching the audio version, look at his face when he goes to answer these questions. Watch him collect himself and then give the head coach answer.
consideration to give play calling duties potentially to Jim, who's done it before, or Parks?
No,
Yeah, don't give it to Jim Caldwell. Get out of here with that.
that was not a consideration.
No, because they're not in it. No, absolutely not. I couldn't agree with you more, Frank. Caldwell is not. No.
Jim's role is as far as with the offense.
Jim has been a tremendous asset to me personally. Be able to talk through every situation with him. He's in a lot of ways helping me oversee everything. He's sometimes he's in defensive meetings, sometimes he's in offensive meetings.
Which is good. Caldwell has experience, but to give him offensive play calling over Thomas Brown, I think would be a slap in the face to Thomas Brown. Thomas Brown has earned the OC. I think, again, this is just him protecting that and trying to insulate his offensive defensive coordinator from getting the criticism that he's obviously receiving. Imagine adding that kind of pressure to both of them when this is just the pressure that Frank's going to go through instead.
And his years of experience and helping gauge and helping me gauge, what are the next steps that we need to take. Just talking stuff through with him, personnel stuff, coaching stuff, everything, philosophical, offense, defense. He's obviously a very wise coach, and so I pick his brain a lot.
Which is great. Get as much information as you can. Please, Frank. I believe in you right now. I'm trying to show people that it's personnel, but hey, man, if you take the fall, I totally understand, and I hope that you bounce back. But yeah, man, just seeing this man's face from the first week to now. Two Growls actually had a great one up about his gray hair and how bad it looks as compared to the start of the season and now. I compared it to Obama before he went off and somebody left. Same idea. Job is just incredibly aging. Again, he's got to sit up there and just take these hits every day and read articles about how he's garbage at this and garbage at that when he's, again, I think he's got a much deeper desire to insulate Thomas and Evero. So that's just, again, I'm going to keep pounding the table on that.
Ultimately come down to production. I mean, only 2 touchdowns, I think, in 12 quarters, right? Is this a result of that?
No, I wasn't looking at any stat. I didn't look at any. What were the yards per game or points?
Exactly, because if he did, he would have seen that he was leading the NFC South in average points per game before he gave Thomas Brown the play calling, and then the points just tanked. So again, I think that's the protecting.
Points, no, it wasn't any of that. It was just, you know,
I mean, look at that body language. I'm telling you, the body language is telling you everything. He's literally getting it, and he's like, okay, well, and then he goes on with it because he knows that he wants to say other things, but he can't. He's the head coach.
it's just what I think is the right move.
Exactly. Put it on your shoulders. Be the man and accept responsibility and move forwards.
Given how collaborative you have shared and Thomas shared, the process has been, what factors do you believe will be different?
That's why, I'm glad you asked that question, because I know this will be made a big deal about, but,
It'll be made a big deal because it moved. I told everybody, again, I'll try and find the tweet. I said that him removing play calling would be to protect TB. I'm going to stand by that. I feel for you, bro. I feel for you.
Internally for us, because it is that collaborative, maybe there's only a 10% difference, you know what I mean, in the way the game gets called. The offense is the offense. We game plan together.
Yep.
But every play caller has their own personality. As I saw how Thomas called it, there were a lot of good things. There were a couple things he did that I wouldn't have done that were successful, that I learned from watching him do.
Which is good. Collaboration is always a good thing. I'm happy he's saying this. I'm glad that he's, again, taking the brunt and then giving Thomas Brown the credit he deserves. I'm okay with that.
Just 3 games.
Yep.
And I would tell him that after every game, like he made a call, and I'm like, I never would have thought to make that call right there.
Which is the difference. I understand that he came from McVay, meaning Thomas Brown, and Frank does have a more vanilla style offense. But right now, vanilla, like our team can't even handle vanilla. So why would I give them, salted caramel or, Rocky Road or something like that? They can't handle vanilla.
And bam, it was a big play. That happened a couple times. So I think that's why, in one respect, it sounds like it's a big deal. I get it. I understand what will be said. In another respect, this is, hey, we're brothers working together on the same thing, trying to get the same thing accomplished. I'm the head coach. I got a lot of experience in it. This is what I feel like I do best. I know it hasn't been successful this year. I feel like I got a lot, there's a whole body of work that would say there's good things that can happen. And so that's what I'm going to try to do.
Thank you. Thank you, Frank. Yes, you're the head coach. You have to act like it. That's what you're doing. Keep that little grin on your face.
Calvin Throckmorton started 7 games for you, and he goes from...
Throck was trash. Throckmorton was garbage. But again, our GM, our scouting department, our owner does not have a good handle on evaluation of talent. That's why Throckmorton is gone. I think that, again, is another indictment, again, on the GM, owner, on the scouting department. The personnel is not there. And people will go back to the Colts and what happened with the Colts and everything like that. But the Colts sucked because of Matt Ryan and Carson Wentz. They have a good O-line. They had a good run game. They didn't have the receivers, kind of like the Panthers, and we're seeing the same struggles. He needs some decent receivers, man. I'm not even talking about Frank. I'm talking about Bryce. 33-year-old Adam Thielen. A DJ Chark that never grew up. If you go look at his draft profile, hopefully you guys have seen the video. Chark is just not him. So we need real wide receivers. I understand that we tried to make it the trade deadline, but that probably involves somebody named Brian Burns. And I will continue to say that if this team does not have Brian Burns, I'm no longer a Panthers fan. I will stand by that. The minute that man leaves this team, my fandom leaves with him. I will just become an NFL fan. I will not root for another team. I just dread the idea that he could have gone to the 49ers and then just, good Lord.
Waived. What went into that decision?
Hard decision.
Because he's terrible. That's why they made the decision. Because he couldn't stop a nosebleed with a whole roll of paper towels.
Throck did a good job as a veteran coming in here. Very dependable, very smart player. Chandler had been our starter, and he got injured. And we're developing young guys the whole time. And, hey, maybe you never know how this league works out. Throck could be back here, sooner rather than later. You never know how things go. But, love the contribution that he made and the person he is.
Frank, any concern on your part, given the respect you've said you've had for Thomas, that this could impact his career arc?
Yeah, no, I appreciate you asking that question, Joe, because this should have zero impact on Thomas's
You know why? This is going to have zero impact because at no point, at literally no point, has he given Thomas Brown a negative critique or anything like that. He's continued to say that the offensive issues are his fault, and he's continued to protect TB. So this should not affect him long term. In fact, this could end up helping Thomas Brown get a job someplace else. I just don't think that after those last 3 games, he's a good enough OC anywhere else. So, maybe he ends up in New England or something like that. But I don't think Thomas Brown is it yet. And all the people that said he was, I'm sorry, you were wrong.
Career arc. It's a 3. First of all, anybody who knows Thomas knows he's brilliant. Okay, and that he's great leader, alpha male. Fast on his feet, and so this is a 3-game sample size. I mean, on a team and on an offense that's been struggling. What was he supposed?
Exactly. He can't. Coaching cannot elevate personnel, cannot elevate talent or effort. Effort's obviously the one that can be controlled through better coaching, all that other stuff. And I hear you on that, but this team doesn't get better by getting a new coach in here. This team gets better by adding personnel to make the team better. I think that if this offensive line wasn't, built of Swiss cheese, we would actually see a lot more Miles Sanders. We'd see a lot more Chuba Hubbard. We'd actually see Hayden Hurst. But at this point, we need Adam Thielen, Chark, and Laviska to catch balls downfield, and they just can't do that. The only one that's actually been able to do that for the most part is a dude who's literally, his name is escaping me, and I have it written down somewhere. They caught that 45-yard bomb 2 games ago. That one in ISM. I think that they're great. They need opportunities, though.
Was it supposed to be Magic? His first time calling.
There you go. It's supposed to be Magic. What did I say? What did you guys think? Magic was going to happen? I'm so good at this. Follow roll coverage, man. I've been saying this for literally weeks. It's personnel. Magic would be the only thing to fix this. Thank you, Frank.
So this will have little or no impact on Thomas's long-term trajectory. He's too good of a coach, person, the whole deal.
When did you make that final decision where you would take over the play calling again, and then how did you deliver that news to Thomas Brown?
A couple days ago, he and I sat down. I sat down a couple days after and just told him, "Hey, let's process through this. Let's talk about it." We talked about it a little bit, and then I don't remember exactly, when it was. But I talked to him obviously first, and then I said, "Hey, because we played on a Thursday night. I said, let me sleep on. This is what I'm thinking, but I'm going to sleep on it for a day or 2. Because I just want to make sure." And I expressed to him how much love and respect I have for him, and I understand all the other dynamics. So, and how he would feel me saying that to him, because obviously he's an extreme competitor, and he wants to win, and he wants to fight. He wants to be at the center of the fight. So. He's going to have plenty of opportunities. His career trajectory is nothing but up.
That's a head coach being the adult in the room. I give you props for that, Frank. It hasn't been there on the field. I give you props for answers like that. I give you props for this, for being the adult in the room.
If you say that he wasn't going to be able to do magic, then why did you give it to him in the first place?
Because everybody whined that he had to give up play calling. Because everybody that was criticizing this team said the scheme and the play calling was the problem, when they completely ignore the personnel. I'll continue to say this. In fact, I'm going to make another video. I'm going to pull it up right now, actually, because I haven't even started that video yet. But it is actually from a interview earlier. Oh, geez, now I don't have it here. But anyways, there's a certain gentleman who did a breakdown of the Panthers. I'm trying to find it right now. On a show. Geez, I can't believe I can't find this right now. Anyways, there was a breakdown. Here we go. Sorry, you guys, I might have heard it. Okay, it is from Ovies and Giglio. Ovies and Giglio would literally gloss over the personnel and immediately jump to play calling and scheme. Again, I don't need to go back to the Middle Tennessee reference. You understand what I'm saying. I'm going to do an entire breakdown of their interview as well, because I feel like they are the people that perpetuated, not saying specifically them 100%. I'm not calling them out directly. My video might seem a little confrontational when it comes out, but I think that so many people were on their side with this. There was such a vitriol for Frank early that he had to make the move. And now, because Thomas Brown has had a 3-game, struggle session where it required our defense to really come up big to get the win, something we really could have used, the first 7 or 8 games. So because of that, I think that the media, I think that Twitter, I think that the fan base as a whole made this worse and is the reason why we're seeing all of these things happen. I might be off base, but I wasn't the one saying that it was scheme and play calling. I was the one saying it was personnel the whole time. And now we're finally starting to get around to people saying that it's personnel. So welcome to the train station. I'm glad the train finally got everybody here.
Because I've always had this vision that, when I came here, like I mentioned to you guys the first place, that even though it's always been in my blood to be a play caller, that in this second time around, there's many successful coaches who don't call it. And I've talked to those coaches about what that experience is like, to be able to manage other things and devote more energy to other places. And, and I said, I need to try that. I need to try that. Mr. Tepper was on board. I told him what I was going to do, and he was on board with that. He certainly understands and appreciated that model. And as I said, I always thought it would be when it was with Thomas. I thought, hey, but just because of how smart and how good he was.
But Thomas can't overcome the personnel, so Frank is going to accept this. Frank is going to move on. Frank is going to say, it's me. It sucks. I'm sorry. We'll get to it next year kind of thing. And I think you guys need to start giving some slack. So if you've made it so far in this video, hit me up on Twitter. I am Roll Coverage Pod on Twitter. I keep telling everybody it's personnel. Let's see how many people follow me down that road.
The impression he made on me and our staff and our players, I thought I'll do it during the bye. But before the season, I may, might have thought, well, it might be a year, might take a year. So
exactly, because if Thomas Brown was Sean McVay, he would be OC. We would never remove it from him. He probably would have been OC to start because Sean McVay's a proven talent on the offensive coordinator side, play calling, all that other stuff. But Thomas Brown is still unproven. I'm sorry. I don't really care what he did before. He's unproven. 3 games, the worst offense in the league during those 3 games. It's personnel. Don't go after Thomas Brown. Again, I think he's just growing. And again, I'm going to keep giving Frank mad props.
Yeah, that's where it's all at.
Frank, do you anticipate any other starting lineup changes offensively, defensively?
Yes, because Throckmorton's gone, I would assume we're going to do something. I'm assuming with Zavala, if he's coming back, Horn's rumored to come back, Burns, DJ Chark. So I think most of them suited up today, the 15th, for practice. So let's hope.
No, we'll see how things play out this week with the injuries. Obviously, with Rock not being there, Chandler stepping in. But
okay, good. Chandler.
Besides that, not anticipating anything.
So to clarify, Chandler will start at left guard.
Yeah.
You've had a couple more days to look at the Cowboys' offense and just kind of what Dak Prescott's been able to do the last couple of weeks. What's really jumping out to you right now?
Yeah, I mean, they are hot on offense. He's extremely effective in the pocket, out of the pocket. Obviously, CD.
Okay, I couldn't agree with that more. They are crazy on the offensive side. And the one thing I said, I was actually just in a podcast last night. Shout out Tobacco Road Radio and everybody like that for bringing me on. I loved it. I really appreciate Two Growls One Roar for actually introducing us. But that's what I told him last night. And that is that we need to get pressure on Dak. Dak can throw for 400-plus yards and a bunch of touchdowns. And if he does that, we are going to be handed the ball a lot, which means it's going to give Bryce a lot of opportunities to make mistakes. Now, obviously, if he ends up throwing a bunch of picks, this would be the game to do it. Cowboys defense has been great, even without Diggs, even without Leighton Vander Esch, and a few other guys. So we really need to watch this game hard. I'm still going to watch it regardless.
Lamb is a big-time playmaker. They're, having success running and throwing it. I've always personally, I had a real high grade on Dak when he was coming out. Like, we were looking at, I was on a team that was looking for a quarterback that year. When Dak came out, I had a very high grade on Dak Prescott, higher than a lot of other people. And so I've always followed his career closely, and I have a lot of respect for him, and I think he's playing really good football right now.
You know what Frank normally goes for? big, tall, strong. And you know what the report before the season was? That he wanted C.J. Stroud. You know who really liked Bryce Young? David Tepper. Just remember that. Remember that.
No.
Frank, it seemed like there was a concerted effort by leadership to watch the trench drills today. Just how big of an emphasis this week will it be on improving both areas of the trenches?
Yeah, I mean, that's where
That's been the problem, and the thing that I've said from the beginning. Offensive line, defensive line. Lots of injuries on the defense, still injuries on the offense, but a lot on the defense. And Everell's doing a good job for the most part of getting those guys ready. They're just not able to put together a really winning defense besides our one game. So I give them props for that. But yeah, that offensive line is Swiss cheese at best.
you win and lose games. I mean, for us on offense, this front we're playing is pretty dynamic. Obviously Micah Parsons is a unique player. Lawrence is still playing at a really high level. Fowler, I mean, the whole crew. Protection is an emphasis all the time, especially this week against one of the better pass rushes. And then defensively, if you're going to slow down an offense like this, it's got to start up front. And we got to do a good job of stopping the run up front and affecting the quarterback.
You guys returning today, Dante, JC, not Dante, excuse me, JC, Ian, and then also Brian and CJ, your outlook on them?
Very positive. JC will take it day by day here, but the other guys feel very positive about Brian and CJ and Ian. And then, with JC, we'll see how, obviously this is his first week back, so we'll see how he progresses this week.
We spoke with Hayden Hurst after the game the other day. He didn't leave the game. What can you tell us about the concussion protocol and what his outlook is?
Sometimes, most concussions, listen, I'm not an expert, but generally speaking, most times the symptoms rear their heads up pretty quickly. Every now and then it comes a day later. And I think that's what happened with Hayden. And so, we're just going to follow the protocol. The outlook is really just follow the protocol. It's just some guys progress through it very quickly, other guys it takes a little bit longer. So we'll just follow the steps.
Frank, what did you learn stepping back and not being the play caller these last 3 weeks, and what do you think you might do a little bit differently moving forward because of that?
I just continue to think, right, as coaches, we have to do the best job we can to put the players in position to win. And then, there's 5 or 6 plays every game, that we got to make. We got to make those plays, as players and coaches. Got to make the right call, got to make the right play, the block, the catch, the call, whatever it is. When you sit back and you look at the game and you say, there's those 5 or 6 plays. We got to make 2 or 3 of those. Those are the ones that really make the difference in the game. So, we practice in a way. We're talking about those kind of plays, trying to put ourselves in those positions out in the practice field, and look forward for those showing up on Sunday.
But do you see? That's him. He said, you know what? We have to make the right call, but the players also have to make the plays. That again continues to echo personnel. I'll continue to give this man his props. I think he's got the, excuse my French, but the shit end of the stick with his team, with his personnel, with everything. I will continue to pound the table that he is protecting Thomas Brown. I keep saying it again, I'm sorry. I will continue to also reinforce that I think that he will get the X. But I'm still gonna root for us. I'm still gonna root for my Panthers, regardless of how bleak the outlook is for this Cowboys game coming up. But I'm Nick. This is Roll Coverage. Hopefully you enjoyed this breakdown. I got a breakdown as well of his press conference 2 days ago where I've raised a lot of these concerns as well. I hope you enjoyed it. Please drop a comment. Share this with as many people as you can. It really helps me out. Just in case you guys don't know, I'm a MBA student finishing my finance degree. So this is kind of my little side project and everything like that. And I really just appreciate anybody that gets this far in this video. And if you do, send me a DM. I'd love to bring you on the show. Anybody that makes it this far, man, that's a true fan. Love to bring you on. Just hit me up. Roll Coverage Pod on Twitter. Have a great rest of the day.